Hey, so I'm just going to go over what this video series is going to be about. Since this is my first video, I'm planning for this to be a archiving of my journey from beginning to end with getting a job in art. More specifically, I want to get a job in entertainment design. That's visual design, story artist or storyboard artist, or concept art, whether that's like character designer or creature designer, where I'm leaning towards. Although I could find enjoyment in like prop design, I think would be cool. Just not backgrounds or mood board kind of things. But why go through the trouble of recording the video and the audio and editing it together when I have no experience doing so? Well, it's because I have no social media presence at all. I don't have a Twitter, I don't have an Instagram, just don't have anything. I have uploaded my drawings to various sites like DeviantArt way in the past and ArtStation more recently, but that was still years ago. And I chose YouTube because I love showing the process of making art or why I'm doing what I'm doing. I also love teaching because it forces you to recontextualize how you're doing what you're doing, causing you to precisely reflect on the process, which is a super cool side effect that you wouldn't know about if you never tried to explain what you're doing with your art. But why now? And I ask this because I'm in my early 30s at this point. I'm not old, but I'm certainly not young. So, what's changed, right? Well, a little history. So I decided about a decade ago that I would keep my art as a hobby. And this came about back in my early 20s when I was doing commissions, where I just felt gross selling my art. Couldn't explain it, but I took that as a sign that I should just keep my art as a hobby and not a career. Fast forward 10 years, and I regret that decision. I think any artist who's drawn since they're a little kid knows that art has never been about fame or some pragmatic success metric, nor is it even just about fun. No, it's about growth. And by growth, I mean seeing someone's work, being inspired, and telling yourself, I want to do that. It's about problem solving, specifically with drawing in this case. But with all creative works, this is where that comes from. The problem solving and the growth therein. But it's work. Growth is work. It takes effort. If you're not challenging yourself, then you're not going to grow. And for years now, because I've set art as a hobby, I've had a normal job. I've gone to work, been gone for 10, 11 hours. I get home, I'm tired, right? So I do what I term as comfort food drawing, where I draw something that I know how to draw, I enjoy drawing it, and I have fun with it, right? It's just, I'm snacking on snacks. But it's not work. It's not a challenge. It's not growing. And I have now reached my wit's end. I want to work out, but I'm just munching on junk food. If I want to be challenged, if I want to grow, if I want to treat it like work, why is it a hobby? What am I doing? To take a quote from Jim Carrey, you can fail at something you don't want, so why don't you take a chance doing something you love? And that's where I'm at right now. So I've been working a job now for years where I have no prospects in the future because I don't care about it. All because it felt wrong to sell my art when I was a kid. Because I was still learning. I was still growing. I didn't deserve it is what I told myself. That the art itself just wasn't very good. But more so, I just loved giving away my art to people. Like it was such a joy to do that. But I'm older now and more of an adult, and that's not how the world works. You need a living. You need a living wage. If I want to treat my art like a job, if I want to work, and I want to spend as much time as I want to spend on it, then I have to make money from it. That's just the reality. So it's time for me to take that chance and try and do something that I love. So this brings me to my last main point. I've explained why I'm making this a video series, why I'm uploading it, like for personal reasons and the archiving of it. But why should anyone watch it? Why does that matter? Well, for the past year, I've had a bit of an existential crisis with the coming of AI generation. And just to be clear, my stance is that I do not like that non-profit organizations were used to scrape and gather the data that was then turned around and used on commercial products. That is my stance, just to make that clear. But why the crisis? What's the problem? Well, the easy answer would be that it's just an ego hit, right? You know, you see artwork that looks nice, right? Like, say what you will about the defects and the weird oddities that happen with AI art, or even it being kind of generic looking, it still looks nice. And that can hurt as an artist that doesn't have a career, or just isn't that good yet, or has even spent years trying to get better, only to see that any old Joe Schmo can spit out a decent enough piece of artwork that's likely better than their own. But as I stated in the beginning, I have no problem with that. Like, I specifically get inspired by seeing better artwork. You know, it doesn't matter if it's AI generated or not. That's a source of inspiration for me. Like, I want to get better to be able to do that. Like, that's what I want. And this ultimately is what brought about growth as the thing I cared about, what I realized that I cared about. But it's not just growth, it's sharing that growth. Now, I want to be that inspiration for other people. Like, for other people to be like, damn, that's so cool. I want to do that. And you probably get where I'm going, where AI generation is really good at that specific task, at inspiring people. If someone has a specific idea for something, they can just generate variations and have just a better understanding of what they might actually want out of that, rather than searching online through other people's work to find that specific thing you're after. That said, my recent thoughts have shifted me towards believing that inspiration is often the human experience, specifically characters and stories from people, right? And I'm not even talking about like real life stories or only real life stories, but fictional characters and fantastical settings brought about from authors who pull from their own real life experiences. That's why I want this series to be here. I feel as if there are a lot of, especially like YouTube artists that are professionals, right? I follow a bunch of them. From Adam Duff with his like philosophical musings, to Mark Burnett and Trent Kanyuga, who do really cool constructive work. I think they both used to work at Blizzard, which is just a style of art I really like. To back in the day with Will Terrell, who just does super cool caricature and people drawing. All the way to Fang Zhu, who I think runs a school, whether he still does. And I used to listen to his stuff like a decade ago, so much so that I used to just put on his videos, even ones I've watched, just to have his voice in the background. That would get me really pumped to draw. And these are professionals, you know, they have a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom when it comes to art, when it comes to this kind of job. And I can't discredit any of that, but there comes a point where the best that they can really explain is a retrospective on their life and how they got to where they were, which is super, super cool, super insightful. But as a regular person, I very often would look at that and be, well, you know, that's them and this is me. Almost gaining this like preemptive imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not even there and I'm already putting myself down. And you know what I would have loved to have seen? As somebody who is already in their 30s, doesn't have any social media following at all, has only taken a couple classes, in community college for art and no portfolio other than something they put together a whole decade ago. And then to see how they go from that towards having an actual job in the industry. Watching the process step by step so you can actually see it happen. Because I feel like very often the advice given is just do it, which is really cool, but reminds me a lot of that draw the owl meme. So for everyone who is willing to follow this journey and wants to see this, I very much appreciate that. And I hope it brings some amount of inspiration to everyone who feels the same way, that they're just a normal ass person and it's some insurmountable mountain to climb. So this is running longer than I wanted it to, but I want to go through an overview of what you can expect from these videos going forward. It'll be some time-lapse footage of whatever I'm working on, why I'm working on it, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and my overall plan. Though that's not going to be every video. Depending on what people like, things are likely going to change. Currently, that's the goal, though. So this video in particular was just me working on the intro. That's all that's been going on in the background. Because I know I wanted an intro for all my videos. It's a little long at 24 seconds, which my fault. I just kind of kept rolling with it and I spent way too much time on it, but I like it. Though I've not done animation work before outside of like second long flipbook stuff I did as a kid. So this was a new workflow for me. So it ended up being a little janky. Still, again, I think it came out well. And I'll just put a timestamp so you can skip it if you don't want to see it. That works. And I'm going to have the character from the intro, Halik is her name, as the face of the channel. In a sort of talking head style, like she's the one talking. Because she's the face, she's the mascot, as you can maybe tell from the channel's name. And I appreciate every single person who willingly listened to the entire 10 minutes of me rambling. Background music is linked in the description. I will be pulling the music from OC Remix because they have some really cool remixes from old video games. Or maybe new ones. I haven't looked that much. Either way, it'll be there. Thanks for listening. Buns out. I gotta have some outro. I don't know. I'll have an intro eventually as well. We'll see.